This channel is brought to you and helped supported by my wonderful Patreons. If you want to join the Patreon team and get your name shouted out in the next video, please feel free to click the link down below, and if not, I hope you enjoyed the video. The Arkham series truly has been a staple in gaming for the last 10 years, proving to the industries that superhero games can be mature and at the same time also inspire and change the industry to its standards that we see to this date. I really don't get to speak enough about the Arkham games, even though they're possibly some of my personal favourite video game series of all time. Each one has a consistent and overall sense of quality to it, obviously minus the few glitches that happened with Arkham Knight and even Arkham Origins, but at the end of the day they all have their own merits and they really do stand on their own feet. Asylum proved that there was a place for superheroes in this industry. City showed us a powerful extent of story between two characters, and possibly one of the most interesting and heartbreaking Batman stories out there. And of course Arkham Knight gave us a mature and exceptional view on the new generation of superhero gaming. But then there's Arkham Origins, the one that mostly gets overlooked by fans of the series. It used a lot of the same systems that Arkham City created, and it didn't evolve the gameplay that the series was proven to do with each installment. But with that aside, Origins stands out to me as possibly the most visually pleasing and even bombastic style that the series has ever seen, escaping from that mature and even iconic look that Arkham Asylum created and provided us with a new sense of colour for crime. This game isn't underrated, but I think it's underappreciated.
So do you have anything else to contribute? I didn't think so.
Arkham Asylum, Arkham City and of course Arkham Knight still all hold up incredibly due to their graphical styles. They give us a sense of realism that comes with a universe such as the Arkham series. But within these styles there are exaggerated elements to this world that add a sense of comic booky fun to it. Large hands, over the top villain dialogue and an aura of tension and power that villains like Two-Face and even Scarecrow should provide. But largely the Arkham universe is inspired by the world of realism, but colliding with its wacky and cartoony nature. As I mentioned in my Capturing Nostalgia video when I spoke about Arkham Asylum, I said it felt like an extension and it was designed to feel like it grew up with its audience and people who may have grown up with the animated series and of course comic books at the time. Having a Joker that acts and looks like something from the animated series and even borderline recreating scenes that the animated series itself had.
Care to tell me how these got in my office?
I put it there.
I think the guards would be interested to know you've been out of your cell.
If you really were going to tell, you already would have.
How do you know I haven't already?
You know, Sweets, I like what I've heard about you, especially the name, Harley Quinzel. Rework it a bit, and you get
Harley Quinn, like the clown. I know, I've heard it before.
The Arkham series sets itself way into Batman's career and it shows us a more of a mature and even experienced universe to these villains. And because of that there's an absent sense of cockiness and even aggression that comes with these villains that we love. When we see Two-Face in Arkham City, we're not seeing a man running a city and feared by millions, or even Batman's emotions connected to Harvey Dent, but instead we see a pitiful villain and even a pitiful man trapped inside of prison walls and fighting with Penguin over something as stupid as a courtroom or even a museum. And this strongly echoes with a lot of the villains within this series. Freeze is just trying to save his wife in solitude, Bane is being used for experiments, and of course the Joker is dying and or dead. Very little do we see these villains actually provide a threat that they once had in their prime, but instead they're just being left to their own devices. And this is entirely intentional, as Rocksteady drew heavy inspiration from Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on a Serious Earth, which actively explores the weakened and even fragile nature and mind of the rogue gallery that Batman has once faced and even battled. Within the pages of the comic, we see Harvey Dent suffering from his duality, incapable of even having a piss without having to ask a bunch of tarot cards. Scarecrow has become a voiceless figure wandering the halls of the asylum, Clayface is a decaying mould of a man, and of course Killer Croc has become a full reptilian beast and becoming what he possibly feared and even everyone told him he would be in the end. The elements of weakness and age both come within City and Asylum and draws heavy inspiration from the comic itself. But this perfectly complements the style and even maturity that they wanted to capture from fans of the comic books growing up and of course the animated series. And have much loved characters in this universe be able to have stories and even have history behind them really shows that this universe itself is extending and can go on forever. While Rocksteady was developing Arkham Knight, Warner Bros wanted to get out another game. So it turns out Warner Bros Games Montreal started developing Arkham Origins. They decided to focus on the legacy that Batman had to build, but most importantly they decided to focus on why these villains were even feared in the first place, and they did it all with a big bang. Origins is the perfect Batman story for a video game in my opinion, and they decided to show us a history to many of the characters that Batman will face throughout the series. Killer Croc, Riddler, Bane and of course Joker are all given a younger and an explosive entrance to the Arkham universe. WB Games gave us a slicker, more traditional design to the rogue gallery of Arkham Origins. Croc's grey colour within the game, which could also be a clear reference to his design in the animated series, of course is a radical change to his huge disorder where you see him become green and overly massive. In my personal opinion, I think this is the best Joker has ever looked within gaming. I feel like his exaggerated grin and his proportions on his face perfectly mimic the comic book of The Man Who Laughs and even many great Joker stories. He's loud, he's in your face, he's exaggerated to all the right extents, and he looks like he has a lot of energy within his character. And I feel like that's the biggest difference that Arkham Origins truly provides. The villains are in your face. They're loud and they don't know much about what or who the Batman is, and they just want to prove that they can be feared and they want to prove that they can defeat him. I remember the first time I saw the cutscene with Killer Croc in the fight, it was just so exciting for me and I had a huge smile on my face. I love to see my favourite villains just go all out with a bravado and attack Batman with stupid amounts of energy. The first boss really does set the atmosphere and tone for the game. The Electrocutioner has such a grand entrance and gets you pumped for the fight of your life. I mean, well, kinda. They brilliantly advertised this game with Deathstroke and Batman fighting. Having two of the most skilled and iconic characters fight hand to hand in a trailer was so exciting. And to have this fight be built up within the game was incredible. And the fight itself is pretty amazing to watch. To have someone like Deathstroke come out of nowhere and challenge Batman and even the player with someone who feels like they have the same skill that matches them and even speed, it's a jaw-dropping fight and it really does show you why they call him Deathstroke the Terminator. Joker's villain meeting cutscene within the Grand Hotel is possibly one of the best cutscenes throughout the entire series in my opinion. With this version of Joker there's an element of, well, what might be genius and madness. So as an introduction to his full character, and possibly one of the most iconic characters of all time, they really do a great job in this cutscene of building up an element of what he might actually do next. When the Joker holds a pistol, he truly has no care in the world where it fires, and even ends up nearly blowing his own foot off because he's just mad and doesn't really care how he's pulling the trigger. And it seems like he's accidentally shooting the floor, and then it turns out he's actually doing it all on purpose. When he's having a go at the Electrocutioner, he decides to kick him out of the same window he shot. It may seem crazy and even on the fly, but if you look at it, it's him choosing his situations. He knew he needed to weaken it to be able to kick the Electrocutioner out of it. And shooting the floor really just added to the theatrics of a character like the Joker really deserves. There's a lot of character built here within these animations, and this cutscene alone just really tells you enough about this character to tell you that he's something different entirely. I can nerd and talk all day about these cutscenes because there's so much energy and even small details that fans of these characters will really enjoy, and if you listen closely you can pick up and even hear references to other comic books. Gotham within Arkham Origins is depicted with thick jet black layers of shadows, and of course with inspirations from film noir, it uses silhouettes constantly, taking us back to the days of the animated series and even of course so many great comics. And Warner Bros intentionally used the name Batman sparingly throughout the game, and the silhouettes amplify how little thugs even understand who or what the Batman could possibly be. They intentionally used a lot of low-key lighting and of course colours to add to the intense nature of these villains, and comics such as The Killing Joke, The Man Who Laughed and of course The Long Halloween all played their huge inspirations within this game's visuals and a dive in the visual madness that the characters like Joker could even bring to the universe. At the start of the game we are aware that Batman knows who Black Mask is and even talks about his old ways of intimidation, someone who has power over good old fashioned torture. Roman Sionis and Killer Croc both resemble tones of the world that's gone past. They are black and white and grey. They literally show the nature of the world of crime and even the views of Batman has on Gotham's crime life. It's either good or bad, and even literally in Black Mask's case, it's black or white. These simple ideals and aggressive thoughts that Batman has within this world is literally pasted all over the walls and shown within its world's colour tones. But Batman's about to be introduced to something that goes beyond these simple ideals. The extraordinary villain becomes a huge part of the visuals throughout Arkham Origins. All the villains on the list have something about them that sets them apart from the world around them. They introduce a near monochrome world to colour and neon lights and of course explosive fights. They have a characteristic and literal colour to them, from Deathstroke's broad orange stripes to Electrocutioner's blues and bright strikes of electricity, or even Bane's green toxin and venom that goes throughout his bodies, and of course Joker's iconic green, purple and red fashion. They show the heroes, the police and of course the world of Arkham Origins that the Batman legend will have to also be extraordinary to defeat them. And they said they wanted to take a lot of elements from Batman Year 1 and even during development calling it Batman Year 2 as a joke. They needed to show that Batman was able and even past mobsters like Black Mask, Penguin and even Falcone, and the entrance and introduction of Joker, Bane, Deathstroke, Copperhead and even Killer Croc show us that Gotham needs a hero that is beyond human and a figure that can protect and even weaken these villains. If games like Arkham Asylum and Arkham City really wanted us to believe that these villains were once powerful and even needed reasons to be locked up within these high security prisons and even city prisons, then we truly needed a story that put Batman against all the odds. And I strongly believe that Warner Brothers games did the best with what they could do. This game truly is underappreciated within the series and is possibly one of the best Batman games out there to date. It puts Batman against all odds. It shows us Bruce learning to become more than just Batman and becoming a person and a human and working as a team. And it also shows us the strong ability and powerful forces that the Arkham series was known for. It truly showed us what these characters were capable of doing, and it showed us the Joker in his prime and even Killer Croc at his youngest, and of course Penguin at his most powerful. This game did a fantastic job of highlighting the true colour of crime within the Arkham series. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, I didn't want to do anything too personal and I just wanted to have something a little bit more fun. And there's something more fun than having to read comic books and play some of your favourite games of all time, and I just had a blast with this one. I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope if you enjoyed Arkham Origins, please let me know. And if you didn't, I also would like to know as well. And of course, if you did, I will see you at the next checkpoints. Goodbye.